worked like crazy. But it was all good work. You know, we didn't have anything boring. We studied geology. The first 6 months we studied spacecraft systems. We learned all the electronics and the navigation and the radios and all that kind of stuff. Apollo 15, the flight that I was on as a command module pilot, was the fourth manned lunar landing mission. We were quite different from anything that had flown before because we carried the first lunar rover, and we carried a fairly complicated scientific package into lunar orbit. Put my feet in some foot restraints and stood up on the outside of the spacecraft and just looked around. And I spent a few minutes out there just standing and looking around, and lo and behold, I could see both the Earth and the Moon at the same time. Uncanny, unbelievable place to be. I think the impact of the Apollo program, and not just this country, but on the world, was to tell people that we could do whatever we want to do if we put our minds to it. There is nothing that's impossible to do.
Apollo astronaut Al Worden died in his sleep at a Texas convalescent home last week at the age of 88. Social media was flooded with tributes and memories of the popular Apollo 15 command module pilot. Born in Jackson, Michigan in 1932, Al graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point in 1955 and entered the US Air Force. He was a fighter pilot and test pilot before his selection as a NASA astronaut in 1966 as part of Astronaut Group 5, also known as the Original 19. He flew to the moon with Commander Dave Scott and lunar module pilot Jim Irwin in July 1971. During his time alone in lunar orbit, Al controlled powerful cameras and other scientific instruments carried to the moon for the first time on Apollo 15. On the return flight to Earth, he performed the first deep space EVA to retrieve film cassettes from the scientific instrument bay on the service module. Sadly, the Apollo 15 mission is also remembered for the infamous postal cover scandal, and in the aftermath of that scandal, Al was transferred to NASA's Ames Research Facility in California. He left NASA in 1975 and went on to a career in the aerospace industry and chaired the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation from 2005 to 2011. Al's autobiography, Falling to Earth, written with space historian Francis French, was released in 2001 and became a bestseller. Falling to Earth put responsibility for the postal cover scandal firmly on Dave Scott's shoulders, and its publication seemed to take the weight off Al's shoulders. He spent the final decade of his life enjoying a renaissance of sorts, making rock star appearances at space events, arms in the air, basking in the applause and enjoying the attentions of whatever pretty ladies might cross his path. Al was, by all accounts, a kind and decent man with a great sense of fun. He had the soul of a poet and penned a book of spaceflight-related poems after Apollo 15. He loved kids and made 7 appearances on the iconic US children's television show Mr. Rogers' Neighbourhood between 1972 and 1975, eager to share the thrill of spaceflight with his young audience. Spacesuit replica maker Ryan Nagata remembered, "He was wonderful with kids and adored my 2 daughters. A devoted father of 2 daughters himself, Al would always make time for the little ones." Another social media post remembered Al's inclusive nature. He never wanted anyone to feel left out and was famous at space events for remembering fans' names and would try to make people who were quiet or shy more at ease by engaging them in conversation. I mean, he didn't have to do that. You've been to the moon, but that was the mark of the man. Al's enthusiasm, energy and zest for life were legendary. Despite his recent illness, his death came as a great shock to the space community, the general consensus being that people decades younger expected to die before Al because he was so full of life. Falling to Earth co-author Francis French said the final lines of the book were written with the knowledge that Al wouldn't be around forever, an epitaph of sorts. As Francis did in his tribute to Al, I would like to share those last few lines. Sometimes, while I sit and enjoy the good company of my family, the moon will slowly rise above the trees. I generally don't pay it much thought, but occasionally I am reminded of my brief glimpse into infinity while alone on the moon's far side. I still have lingering questions about what I experienced. The answers won't come in my lifetime. That will be your job. Try it sometime. Someday all of us who journeyed to the moon will be gone. Take a walk on a summer night, look up at the moon and think of us. A part of us is still there and always will be. Vale and ad astra Al, you will be greatly missed.